Good to have you here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. A lot to get to on this Friday. Of course, as we head into a big college football weekend, we'll have our picks coming up heading into the weekend that are sure to be wrong. We'll get to that coming up final hour. A lot of football to talk. Dave Holcomb, southernpigskin.com, will join us. Pitt beats North Carolina in overtime last night. You've got NC State and Wake this weekend. Some big games there in the ACC. We'll also chat with Michael Turner, former Pro Bowl Falcons running back. We'll look at the Falcons' run game or lack thereof, as it may be with this Atlanta Falcons team with Michael Turner, and also 320 Jake Roos of On3.com covers the Georgia Bulldogs will join us, and we'll look at Georgia and Tennessee coming up this weekend. Tennessee apparently breaking out black uniforms with orange letters and numbers this weekend. This is the second time they've done it. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit as well. But, guys, it is Georgia and Tennessee coming up this weekend. And, again, I think a lot of the storylines are, can Tennessee do it? Is Tennessee the team that gives Georgia problems and this and that? I think the bottom line is, on some level, people are trying to create hype over another game that Georgia's favored by 3 touchdowns.
Probably, but I do think there are at least some, possible situations where Tennessee can put Georgia in a position where the Bulldogs haven't been in, and that's in a close game late going all the way back to week 1. The only close game Georgia's been in was, that week 1 game against Clemson. And I think on the road, obviously Neyland, you're going to have about 107,000 people. Offensively, you present a different challenge than just about everybody else on Georgia's schedule. I think if Hendon Hooker can get in a rhythm early, maybe there's a chance it's a little closer than people think, but it would take a lot. I mean, Ben, I think to sum it up, it would take Georgia playing an average to below average game and Tennessee playing an elite game. It's not outside the realm of possibility, but Tennessee's offense is going to have to do something early to get some momentum against this group.
I know it's so much talk about this Tennessee offense. What about that Tennessee defense? I mean, Georgia's offense ain't the best, but they're good enough to go out there and put up points. So what happens when you look it up and it's 14-0, 17-0, something in the second quarter for that Georgia offense, BJ? But yes, I mean, Tennessee are breaking out the black unis. If you can see them on the screen, they are nice. Even black make everything look good when it come to uniforms. Even that sherbet orange outside of the unis. I like the white helmet with the black unis and the white gloves. But outside of looking good on the field, Kevin, it's going to be a beat down, I believe, because don't we do this every week with Georgia? Intriguing, until it's not. Jordan Davis is still Jordan Davis. I mean, Dean and, Nolan Smith and those guys. So, yes, if Hendon Hooker can get it going, that's cool. They're gonna give you some yards maybe in between the 20s. But what about when you got to get in the end zone? That has been what nobody has been able to solve for the Georgia defense. So we'll see, BJ, but, we'll see how long people be actually watching. We'll see.
And as I said yesterday, at the end of the day, Tennessee's defense is atrocious. I mean, it is. I mean, Georgia's going to be able to score. And I've said this from the beginning. How many points does Georgia need to score before Tennessee just simply won't be able to score that many on Georgia's defense? I mean, that's the name of the game each and every week that Georgia plays. I mean, Georgia's offense is good. Actually, I think statistically a little better than Tennessee. But, I mean, if Tennessee scores 17, how many is that defense going to give up? They gave up 42 to Kentucky last week. I think the lowest amount they've given up in SEC play is 20 to South Carolina, who's not going to be confused with any kind of modern scoreboard busting offense. They gave up 20. So what's Georgia going to score this weekend? 35? 42? Do I think Tennessee can score that many? No, I don't. I think even if they play well, they're not going to score that many on Georgia's defense this weekend. BJ has come up with a little head-to-head challenge. Sure to make Christian go batty, but it's Georgia versus Tennessee. We're going to pick one or the other in a number of different categories. So BJ starts it off. Better mascot, Uga or Smokey?
Both are great, but both are great. Both are great. Listen, Smokey, I mean, one of my favorites out there, but going against Uga, you can't go against Uga. Uga, probably the most recognizable, famous, mascot. I think he's been on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So listen, I love Smokey, all due respect to Smokey, but you got to go Uga. Right, Ben? Uga?
Yeah, prestige, it's Uga. I mean, I don't know. Uga might be the most famous mascot in sports when you think about how, he's the only dog that's, He is a dog. He does have 4 legs, and he's supposed to sleep outside, but that doesn't happen. He's only allowed to walk I think maybe like 20 yards. And I will give this to Ugga. Look, Ugga so many years ago against Bevo kind of showed a little athleticism. Like, hey, this big old gigantic longhorn is getting close. But yes, it's Ugga, BJ. I never ever like to give Ugga any credit, but hey, man, Ugga is the man, man. He has years and years and years of prestige and pampering to prove it.
Yeah, I think as a mascot, just on the surface, it's Ugga. Which dog would I rather own? It's Smokey. I know. I'm just saying. Bulldogs.
They're both awesome. They're both awesome.
What kind of answer is that? All right. They may be, but the wrinkles, the fat, the pushed in face, I'm just not a fan. I said that. Bulldogs and Pugs. I'm not a fan. Better black uniforms, Georgia or Tennessee?
Ben, I know you like the Tennessee. Look, I think it's Georgia. The black silver looks really good. Now, I don't know if you want to break out the alternate uniforms for a game like this. I know you're trying to get all the momentum. I think Tennessee does look pretty good. They were up on the screen a minute ago, but the black uniforms, I think Georgia looks better.
Georgia do look good, BJ, but listen, it's hard to make that sherbet orange look good, right? But it's how they did it. That all black with the sherbet. Why here? I mean, hey, look, Georgia, you're gonna see it more. But I will say this: when Tennessee might want to take a picture. When Tennessee get the brakes beat off them, you will not see them black uniforms for a long.
Well, this is the second time they've worn them this year.
But them Tennessee black units is nice.
I refuse to answer this question on principle alone because neither one of these teams should ever wear black uniforms ever. Just saying, they don't look like
what. You don't think Georgia's black uniforms look amazing?
No, throw them in the trash.
They look good. They look good.
Throw Tennessee's in the trash. Neither one of those teams should ever wear black uniforms ever. It just doesn't look like them. So I refuse to answer the question on which looks better. They both should never be worn ever again. More identifiable logo brand, the Georgia G or the Tennessee T?
I think it might be the Tennessee T because when you think about the G, you think about Green Bay Packers, you think about Grambling, you think about a number of different programs. I think with Tennessee, that's boom. You see the T, that's what it is. I understand Christian's putting images up. I get it. I appreciate it. But do most people, I don't know this, around the country, if you just put the G up, and I understand the colors or whatever, but do you think Green Bay Packers or do you think Georgia? So because of that, I will go with Tennessee.
They're different. Like if you actually look at the dimensions to them, the logos are different.
I mean,
now we've come down to pixel size. Okay.
Yeah, the dimensions are different.
I mean, the G is smooth, but it is the T. I mean, the thing about it is that sherbet T, when you see it, you just that's Tennessee. And the thing about Georgia is, depending on where you are in the country, if you just put up that G, if you're in the middle of the country, they go, oh, that's Green Bay. If you closer to Texas, they're gonna say, oh man, that's Grambling. And if you're in the Southeast, they go, oh, that's Georgia. So the fact that other logos look like yours, I would say it's got to be that Tennessee T.
Well, I think Tennessee's, if you look at it, theirs is a JPEG, and Georgia's is a
Kev, can you tell me what a JPEG is? Can you tell me what a JPEG is?
It is a type of picture file.
No. Can you tell me what a JPEG is? Can you tell me the difference between a PNG and a JPEG?
There is I think a PNG file has more pixels to it, is a more well-defined photo, if I'm not mistaken.
Not even close.
Okay, that's fine. I don't care. I'm just making fun of you saying it's different. Okay. I mean, I guess a little bit.
You're supposed to hit me with a Hank Hill.
I
look like I know what a JPEG is?
Yeah, exactly. In so much that, Ice Baby and Under Pressure have two different hooks to them, right? I mean, that's
they do.
They do, barely. Only the discerning ear even knows it. All right, moving along to where are we even at here in this? All right, better fight song, the Glory Glory song or Rocky Top?
The Glory Glory song.
Well, you said Glory Glory, but
Rocky Top. I mean, I got to go with Rocky Top. It's recognizable. It's right. It's Rocky Top.
Yeah, Rocky Top is annoying, but it is a better song. I mean, I get tired of hearing it, but it is Rocky Top. Yes.
Yeah, I have to agree with them. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Georgia uses it, Auburn uses it. I think like a couple other schools use it.
I'm just trying to backtrack here, Kevin, and just out of curiosity's sake, have you picked Georgia on any of these?
I picked on the first one. I said Ugga's a better mascot. I said if I had to own one, I wouldn't own a Bulldog.
Okay,
so that's not against Ugga personally. That's just against all Bulldogs.
Just to be clear, the one that you picked, you qualified and said if you changed the question, you would have picked the other dog. So
yeah, I said if I
is there something you want to talk about, like with your disdain for Georgia?
I'm sorry. I believe everybody else has picked a lot of Tennessee in this thing as well.
All right.
I'm just saying. You get to the better tradition. I took umbrage with BJ this earlier. I don't even know if this is a tradition, but the silver britches or the checkerboard end zone.
Those are both traditions.
Okay.
Yeah, those are both traditions.
If your biggest tradition is pants, I think we know where we have to go.
We didn't say it's necessarily your biggest tradition. I mean, look, I think I like the silver britches. I think they look good, but the checkerboard end zones are unique. They look, I mean, they are immediately identifiable with Tennessee and Tennessee alone. So I got to go with the end zones.
Silver britches are smooth, but checkerboard end zones, I mean, hey, I don't like much about Tennessee, even those colors, but when you come to them checkerboard end zones, man, that's pretty freaking smooth. I got to go with them checkerboards.
Yeah, I think we could have done better with this question. We had pants and paint in the end zone. I think they have a lot of great traditions.
Hold on a second. How many questions did you provide or come up with?
That's fine. I was only asked to answer the question, and I'm answering them as I see fit. All right. Both teams know for some great players. Better defensive tackle duo, Stroud and Seymour, or Henderson and Haynesworth?
And we're talking college only, both elite, but I got to go Henderson and Haynesworth there.
Unfortunately for me, I was blessed, if you want to say blessed, to play against both of these, duos. Came out on the losing end with Haynesworth and Henderson, and I came out on the winning end against Stroud and Seymour. So I'm gonna go with the old Tennessee boys. I
will go with Georgia, and I've hung up on Marcus Stroud before. He's like, hey, click. Did not mean to do it. Thought I was going to have to get in the showdown, but I did hang up on Marcus Stroud before on the show. So, but Mark Stroud, Richard Seymour, I will go there. Better DN, David Pollock or Reggie White? Both, I think. BJ mentioned when you put together all-time lists, both
college or pros?
College.
Okay.
This is brutal.
Yeah,
this is
Reggie White.
And Christian,
you're crazy.
Christian was going over this with you earlier, and you said, "Look, they're right there, the same." I mean, I'm going to take both. You got to go one. I think they're arguably 1-2 in SEC history. You have Clowney and Garrett and others up there. Ben, Alex Brown, college only, and maybe this is just because I was able to see him. I will go David Pollock.
I knew this question was gonna make it in there. I knew it.
Talk about it.
I never ever played against Reggie White. Thank God for that. God is good to me. I didn't want to have to deal with that at all. Never would have played against him again in college. But look, when you talk about the gold standard of defensive ends in the SEC, I gotta go with David Pollock.
I mean, I think you have to raise your hand I saw Reggie White play a lot in the pros. I think I was of cognizant age.
Reggie White was at the 2002 game in the rain. We played against Tennessee, and he was like, "Hey man, this is going to be one of the best teams Tennessee has." And when we beat them, he was no longer around. He wasn't there for after the game for the post game. No, I don't want to talk about these guys anymore. So.
Were you hunting him out, trying to go shake his hand? And
like, of course, I would have fanboyed. I would have did the whole back to him. Is this him? Is this him? Is this him? Yeah, that's Reggie White.
All right, couple more real quick. Better DB from Tennessee or Georgia, Champ Bailey or Eric Berry? Again, college.
And different positions. I mean, corner and safety. Ben, I've heard you say before, corner's the toughest position of all time because you're on an island. I think both guys are all-time greats, but if corner is the tougher position, I will go with Champ Bailey.
Listen. It ain't too many athletes I'm gonna ever say affected the game more than Champ Bailey, but Eric Berry was something serious. The guy had a Heisman trophy. He had a Heisman campaign. He had a big gigantic I don't know how big that freaking blow up thing they have him outside. Love Champ Bailey, and Champ gonna beat the brakes off him when he see me for talking trash about him. But I'm gonna have to go with Eric Berry.
I thought tight end was the most difficult position in.
That's the most athletic position on the field.
No, I got to go Champ Bailey here as well. More overall history. This is one that's totally subjective. Georgia or Tennessee?
I think it's Tennessee. The more recent national championship. I think you go back to a long time ago. Tennessee was more of a national power. I'll go the Vols.
It is the Vols. I mean, I think a lot of Georgia's history is tied to one player. And if you Tennessee's best player never won a national championship. I mean, T. Martin won the national when Peyton Manning couldn't do it. Georgia got some rich tradition, but I don't think it measures up to Tennessee.
So to sum up Ben's argument, Georgia's best player did get a national championship. Tennessee's best player didn't get a national championship. We're going to go with Tennessee. Was that what we're saying? Is that what we're saying?
Because what I'm saying is, if you take away Tennessee's best player, they still have one. If you take away Georgia, what do they have?
They still have one. Maybe not in the recent era, but they still have some.
I'm not talking about when there wasn't no TV.
This is history. History goes all the way back. You can't just select in the window between 1980 and 1990. That's no. You said history tradition.
Right.
It's definitely Georgia.
All right.
Definitely Georgia.
Definitely, he says.
Give it
No,
up.
I like it. You're coming around.
No, I'm not. I'm just
Gonna be
going with
wearing
what's
them
factually out there.
Gonna be wearing them silver breeches on Saturday.
No, that's not a tradition. I get you. You can't say pants. No, that shouldn't be like up there as the best tradition. Georgia's got 50 other things that come before pants.
That's right, Kevin. You
in the
tell them
tradition.
about it.
I'm just saying.
You support them dogs.
Just not the bulldog. Can't own one of those. Can't do it.
No one said you had to, Kevin.
We'll come back.
Sonny Seiler's got it taken care of, man.
That's fine. He can have all the bulldogs he wants. Jay Cruz will join us when we come back on 3. We're talking Georgia, Tennessee with him next. It's 3 and Out. Good to have you along here. 3 and Out. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're making us a part of your day. Georgia and Tennessee coming up this weekend in Knoxville. Joining us here on the show from On3.com, covers the Georgia Bulldogs. Jake Roos joins us here on 3 and Out. Jake, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me.
And it seems like a lot of folks from the outside looking at this thing saying maybe this is a game that gives Georgia problems. Tennessee likes to go fast. They like to hurry up. They want to run a lot of plays. I look at it the other way and say this Tennessee defense is pretty bad. How are they going to keep the game close against the defense? Even if they score more than anybody else, it still may not be enough against that Georgia defense. How do you kind of see this game from a Georgia standpoint with all the challenges that Tennessee might bring them?
No, I think you're spot on. I think that that's got to be the concern for Tennessee. I think that the Vols do have a real chance to be, the highest scoring offense against this Georgia team this year. But, that's not really saying much. That would be topping 13 points. So, they don't have the defense, though, I don't think necessarily. And quite frankly, the faster that offense operates, and if they are efficient and able to score, or they're creating quick 3 and outs, that's going to be a disadvantage for their defense as well. I mean, they were on the field 99 plays last week. So, I think that it's a double-edged sword for Tennessee, kind of tough either way you slice it for them from a defensive standpoint. I think that that's going to end up being the problem. Like I said, I do think they can score on Georgia. I just don't see the defense being able to keep them in this thing very hard.
And Jake, to that end, I mean, what do you think we see out of Stetson Bennett and Georgia offensively on Saturday?
I think that you'll continue to see what you have seen. I think that they, are going to feel like they can take some shots, and probably rightfully so. I mean, if you're looking for a strength in this defense for Tennessee, it's probably that secondary. But by the same token, that's not stopped teams from being able to go deep on them when they want to. I think that you'll see the offensive line try to get some push, especially, with Broderick Jones still working out there at left tackle in relief of Jamari Sawyer. You're going to see an opportunity for them to get out there, create some push, and try to establish the run and get that going. And quite frankly, I think that that's probably the direction you'll see Georgia take this, because if you can get out there and grind these guys down and play keep away, that's probably the worst thing for Tennessee possible. They need as many possessions as they can possibly get.
And Jake, if this thing gets out of hand like most people think it will there be a JT Daniels sighting on Saturday?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think that makes all the sense in the world. I mean, you saw it in the last game for the same reason, and I think that you could see it again here. I think that you also saw in the last game that there is some rust to knock off when it comes to JT Daniels, and I think that it's a good move for Georgia to continue to do that when the band's playing. Obviously, he can get those reps in practice, but his layoff is pretty significant, so I think that it does make sense, and I do think that you'll get an opportunity to see that on Saturday.
Jake Roos joining us here on 3 and Out. And Jake, if you look at Georgia's defense and the way they've played, we talked about Tennessee's up-tempo offense. Obviously, Tennessee wants to run 70, 80, probably closer to 80, 90 plays. Georgia, I think, last in the SEC in plays per game on defense, because obviously they're getting off the field quickly and their offense is controlling things. But how do you think that affects this team, having not necessarily, if Tennessee does what they want to, played a game for 80, 85 snaps on defense?
I don't know that it'll be a problem, because I think what you have to point to and what you have to hope for is that all this experience that the defense has gotten in the second and third string over the course of the season is there to pay off and work in relief. I think that, you've got to assume that those guys are able to step up to the challenge. And quite frankly, they've been able to do that when they've had the opportunities. It's not like in the second string defense is going in that they've allowed a lot of points either. So, I think that that's what you have to kind of trust if you're Kirby and if you're this defensive staff, is that, hey, we recruited this depth. Let's let them do what they do. Let's not let these guys get gassed and make a costly error for that reason. We can keep fresh legs in there, and we feel confident about it.
How important are the first couple of drives, first 7-8 minutes of the game going to be when you think about Tennessee's going to have the big-time home crowd, the black uniforms, they're going to be looking for the upset. I mean, if Georgia comes out and gets a couple of quick stops, maybe a couple of scores early, does that mean it's going to be a really long day for Tennessee?
Yeah, absolutely. I think realistically the big thing Tennessee has to watch out for is some quick 3 and outs to kind of get this thing going. I think that they need to come out if they were able to come out and hit and establish themselves early as an offensive threat, I think that could go a long way to helping their chances on Saturday. But quite frankly, it's not really been a situation where, it's fazed Georgia too much when teams have done that. I mean, you saw even Missouri the other day kind of come out with some juice in their step and kind of play it a little sloppy. Georgia played it a little sloppy, I thought, early on, but they were able to settle down and keep their composure. And that's something Kirby Smart has made a huge talking point this year. Rightfully so. I think Georgia's done a good job of keeping that.
Kind of maybe help out this Tennessee team. I mean, you talk about a team that's playing better as of late, but at the end of the day, this is a Georgia team that's seen it all, done it all, and they seem to always play with poise.
Yeah, I think that crowd at Neyland can never be underestimated. But, it's not like it's been a sellout. It's for this game. There were tickets still available, I think, as recently as yesterday. So, that tells me that there's probably going to be a strong Georgia contingent there as well. I think Georgia fans are going to travel well for this one, and I think that'll be helpful too. But if they can get the momentum rolling, it can be very difficult. It's a very hostile environment there in Neyland Stadium. But like you said, Georgia's kind of seen and handled it all. They did it in Jordan-Hare, which is a very similar atmosphere, in my opinion. I think that they feel battle tested and they should feel confident in their ability because they have seen a lot this season.
Jake Roos on 3.com. Jordan is here on 3 and Out, and winning on Saturday. Georgia will go 8-0 in SEC play, something I don't know that they've done before.
Yeah, that could be very interesting to see. Certainly, I think that you've got to keep your fingers crossed for it. But they feel confident about their chances. I believe. I don't think they're overlooking this Tennessee team at all. And really, I think that this is a good time for this game to hit and a good opponent to be facing, because I don't know that you faced an offense that was clicking the way Tennessee has been to this point. I think as you move forward, you're playing in the SEC championship. That's already locked in. You're gonna probably play a dynamic offense there, and certainly if you make an appearance in the playoffs, you will as well. I think that this is a good test for them moving forward, regardless of the outcome.
Jake, I know you've seen some decommitments from Florida turn to Georgia, some decommitments from other teams as well in the past. Where's Georgia at with this recruiting class, and just how good could it end up being?
Georgia's on fire, quite frankly. I mean, they have been for a while when it comes to the recruiting trail. But, that number one ranking, this dominant performance that you've seen throughout the season, it's all playing in. And kids are excited by it and encouraged by it and want to be a part of it. So, they picked up a commitment today from Julian Humphrey, a former Florida commit. He backed off of the commitment about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And, Georgia kind of the clear leader there from the get-go, didn't make any bones about it today, and goes ahead and comes along. If you're on the outside looking in and you're another team, you've got to be a little bit concerned about what you're seeing there, because it feels like the rich are getting richer when it comes to talent. Georgia on fire, and only more big names to come based on everything we've heard. So it's really a matter of when, not if.
Jake Roos on 3.com. Jordan is here on 3 Now. And Jake, speaking of recruiting, got a book out about recruiting and Georgia, The Road to Georgia, incredible twists and improbable turns along the Georgia Bulldogs recruiting trail. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a really exciting project to work on. Glad we had the opportunity to do it from Triumph Books, and hope people will check it out. We did interviews with some of the greatest names in Georgia football history, just kind of recapping their recruitment, how they ended up at Georgia, and how it all kind of came together for them. Some very eye-opening pieces, even going back to Quincy Carter and talking about, his, transition from playing baseball and being a Georgia Tech commit and, ended up in Athens, how that kind of all went down. All the way up through David Pollock, Isaac Nada, Jake Gaines. We take it from a pretty wide perspective, even starting back at Charlie Trippi. So it was a really great project, and the feedback's been really solid, and we appreciate everybody who's checked it out, and hope people will continue to do so.
It's The Road to Georgia, incredible twists and probable turns along the Georgia Bulldogs recruiting trail by Jake Roos. Got a forward by Mark Richt in there as well. Encourage you to check that out. Jake, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Jay Cruz joining us here on 3 and Out. More to come here on this Friday. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. Good to have you back here on 3 and Out. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Falcons and Cowboys coming up this weekend. But can Atlanta get something going with their running game? Our next guest knows a little bit about that. Former Pro Bowl Falcons running back, the burner, Michael Turner, joining us here on 3 and Out. Michael, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How you guys been doing?
Hey, we've been doing fantastic. You look at this Atlanta Falcons team to date. You got a coach in Arthur Smith, came in from Tennessee, obviously had a different type of running back there in Tennessee, but kind of came in as offensive coordinator, looked at running the football, power run game. And so far, the Falcons have really been anything but that on offense. What do you kind of attribute that to? Even the guy, Mike Davis, they brought in to be that guy, hasn't been that guy. It's been Cordarrelle Patterson.
Yeah, it's been tough sledding in the run game for the Falcons, but they still been finding ways to win certain football games. Sitting around 500, they based on the production of the offense, and not having really Julio Jones this year. It's been a difference for them, and I think they should be satisfied at sitting where they are right now.
And Michael, you mentioned 500. This is a team that's tied for 31st in the league in rushing touchdowns, 31st in yards per carry, 29th in rushing. I mean, can you stay around 500 if you're that imbalanced offensively, or are they going to at some point have to get more of a productive running game going?
They definitely need a more productive running game going. Don't get it twisted, but I was just saying, like, they're lucky to be where they are right now, being last, close to near the last in the league in rushing. But they need to turn around quick, and I know they know that. I know Mike Davis knows that. We got some good runs from Patterson, but we just need more production. They need that play action to get popping. So you need to run the ball more effectively for that to happen.
And Mike, most of the time when people look at high-powered offense, they want to see these long passes down the field. But when when you was with Matty Ice and those guys, and you had Tony Gonzalez, you had Roddy White and Julio and those guys, yes, he was putting up big-time numbers in the passing game, but you also had first-team All-Pro next to your name.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So, the run game complements the passing game, and vice versa. So, right, like you said, who's on the outside right now? You only got Cordarrelle Patterson, and, Justin Gage is getting involved, but no Ridley, that hurts. It's not like he's not missing guys out there. We only got Kyle Pitts. He's a rookie. He's learning how to be an NFL pro. So it's going to take time for the big plays to happen. But when they do, this offense does have potential to be explosive.
And Michael, I know no running back will ever throw it on the guys up front, but how much of what we've seen out of the Falcons running game comes from maybe a lack of confidence that they can block this thing, that they can open lanes for the running back, and they're not willing to, I guess, make a commitment to it as a staff at this point?
Yeah. I don't know. You got to talk to Arthur Smith about that. See if you like guys that he has up front as far as confidence, things like that. I know his line's been shuffled around a little bit. Guys been injured or whatnot, but we're still trying to find the right recipe up front, the right combination to go on to get that run game looking like it was in Tennessee.
How much of running the football, and few people did it better than you, is rhythm based, where you have to get the consistent opportunities? And I know I've heard you talk about this before, kind of the familiarity between the backs and, like Kevin said, the offensive line up front all being on the same page.
Yeah, it just takes time, man. It takes time to get all that worked out. It doesn't happen overnight. When I came in, I had some guys that was some nasty guys up front, and I was able to make things happen back there. My first few years up, all my years up there, really. But things just ain't the same anymore, man. It's a passing league, and some of the offensive guys are more passive than before, because you don't get to practice run game that much with the pads on throughout the week, so it's totally different. So it's hard to find establish a dominant run game like that. So it was really impressive what they was able to do with Tennessee. You also had Derrick Henry in backfield, so that helps a lot.
Well, I mean, Mike, obviously you're not going to speak up for yourself, but I mean, when you had the offensive line that you had, it's not like you had a whole bunch of first-team All-Pros in front of you at the offensive line. How much was it about you telling them? Because I've heard offensive linemen and running backs talk to each other. You say, listen, man, I want you guys to step like this. It's not like you the extra offensive line coach, but they say, hey, Mike, how do you want us to step on this play? How do you want us to step on that play? Because you was a downhill runner. You was a guy that could very, very physical, but you also could hit the home run. Did you have conversations with the offensive line saying, hey, listen, I want you guys to block it like this on this play or that play because you guys seem to be on the same page out there.
Definitely. You know, my guys had heart. They might not be the most talented guys, but they had heart. You know, so we just had discussions, man. Like, block this way. You know, I would be more patient doing this steps and things like that. So we had special meetings after practice, just the O-line and running backs to go over run plays and look at run clips and see what we can do as a whole to improve our game and get a better understanding of each other, man. It's just about chemistry, man.
And Mike, what does it say about you spending 4 years behind LaDainian Thomas, obviously one of the best to ever do it? Did you come sign a big-time free agency deal with the Falcons? People are saying, what type of player is this guy? How much of it is, one, I want to prove that, you know, I'm one of the best players, but then I don't want him to look back at my history here in Atlanta and think, oh, man, this guy got a bunch of money to produce. I mean, first team All-Pro means I'm considered the best player at my position that year.
Definitely, I had a lot to prove, man. I still had a chip on my shoulder from the draft, really, to tell you the truth. You know, I thought I should have been drafted higher. I was stuck behind LT in San Diego, so I was able to, fortunate enough to learn from him certain things. You know, we was two totally different backs, but I learned how to be a pro through him, and then, you know, understanding when I get my opportunities, I had to make the most of them. And so I was looking good on tape in San Diego, so Atlanta brought me in, and I had something else to prove then, like that I earned the check that I was getting, and that was another fire under me too. So everything worked out well, man. I think.
Michael Turner joining us here on 3 and Out. And Michael, we've talked about it on this show. I'm interested to get your thoughts on it in terms of some of the slow start with Atlanta offensively. But a lot of the key guys did not play in the preseason. None of the 3 weeks. We didn't see Mike Davis out there. Really didn't see Matt Ryan. Didn't see a lot of the main receiver guys, save maybe a couple of snaps. How much of that affected maybe what we saw the first 3, 4, 5 ball games of the year? The fact that those guys, I know there's practice, but did not play at all in the preseason.
Man, that's one of the things that I don't like about the preseason. You know, I'm old school, man. I like guys getting their reps. I was under a hard coach with Marty Schottenheimer for a few years, and he didn't, you know, necessarily play guys not practicing or playing all preseason, and then just all of a sudden go play regular season games. We expect to be, you know, full go and as sharp and crisp as they would if they played in the preseason. So I don't like that. I think too many guys miss preseason. You know, some guys need these reps, man. There was a lot of reps that was left on the field out there not playing the preseason.
Michael, I know you've mentioned a couple of times it's a passing league, and we see the stats and all that every week. But what are your thoughts on kind of the way the running backs are being used around the league? I know they're big parts of the passing game. Maybe you see rotations between 2, 3 backs. How do you think running backs are being used in the league right now?
I mean, you know, it's hard to tell. I wouldn't like it personally. It'll be a major adjustment for me. You know, even though I've been a backup before, I know how to go in there and get spurts of time here and there. But I know it's got to be tough for a guy to get his rhythm and stuff. And knowing like the passing league, and then on top of that, not all the run plays are not getting short a little bit. I guess you're like an extra receiver out there nowadays. Sometimes an extra blocker. For the most part, you know, some guys are not really get a chance to run the football, not to get lathered up real good and go after these defensive guys and wear the defenses out.
And Mike, obviously you played, we played during the time where you had that bell cow running back. You had a guy to come in, you know, maybe a third down back. Do you see the NFL becoming more of a 2-back league? Not necessarily because you don't have one guy, but you keep 2 guys fresh and you have 2 guys that have, you know, very, very similar skill sets.
Yeah, I think that's the philosophy, having two guys fresh, you know, and just hitting guys with all angles. But, you know, even though you still got 2 guys, though, like I said, they're not even calling that many run plays in the league right now. So everything's all about the quarterback these days, which is understandable. But, yeah, I don't know. It's difficult, man. It's difficult. Hard to say if I was, like, playing in this era. But if they give me the ball like Derrick Henry or something, I'll make work with it like that.
Michael Turner, our guest here on 3 Now, former Pro Bowl Falcons running back, joining us here on the program. Michael, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciating the Falcons and the Cowboys this week, and the Falcons certainly going to need to run the football if they're going to want to beat Dallas coming up on Sunday, Ben. And this is a game that Atlanta thinks they can maybe go in and get a dub on.
And Atlanta got good shot in it. I mean, I go back to a week ago when Denver goes into Dallas and nobody saw Denver doing what they did. I am not saying Atlanta is Denver. I'm saying Atlanta need to call, take the two gloves and Matty Ice need to just, chop it up on FaceTime and say, look, man, this is what we did. We stayed on those guys. Cordell Patterson, look, whatever you got to take an IV, take a cortisone shot, take all the Gatorade he need. Mike Davis, hey, you have RB next to your name. Go out there and run the football. And Matty Ice, do what you do. But we're talking about the offense, right? Deion Jones. Great Jared. Hey, Dante Fowler Jr., y'all get paid to play football. You're going to have to stop that Dallas offense because they are, I think last week, I think it was 30-0 going into the fourth quarter with Denver. And Dallas going to be trying to make a statement. Atlanta should be trying to make a statement as well.
I think you've got to find a way, Kevin, just to get situationally more consistent using the running backs. That doesn't mean you have to run the ball 50 times a game, but I think you have to try to stay ahead of the sticks. You have to, especially in the red zone, have balance. So you got to commit to running the ball a little more.
We'll have more to come here on 3 and Out, talking Georgia. A lot of big college football coming up here this weekend as well. We'll get to that here on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. We'll take 3 coming up top of next hour. Dave Holcomb going to join us from southernpigskin.com. We'll look at the weekend cup coming in the ACC. Wake Forest playing another school from North Carolina in the AC, but it's a conference game this week. So we'll talk about
Confusing, man. I don't get it.
Well, a lot of people don't get it. But that's neither here nor there. We'll look at high school football playoffs getting started this weekend. A lot of teams playing on Saturday here in the first round. We'll take a look at some of those big matchups coming up, BJ, in hour number 2.
Kevin, go ahead and get into what's on the rundown, man. It says, listen, you're going to give us a breakdown. World Cup qualifier tonight. Team USA taking on Mexico. Big game. Couple of really good sides. Give us a breakdown of what we'll see tonight with USA-Mexico.
Okay. Christian Pulisic, is he playing?
It looks like he's coming off the bench.
So no.
He'll be a late sub.
Christian, that's a pretty good breakdown there, because that's the question is, what are we going to see out of Pulisic? And Kevin goes right to it, man.
BJ, I want to go into the mindset of Kevin. Kevin, do you want the U.S. national team to lose tonight?
No, I already asked BJ in the thing. I said, if Team USA loses, are we out of the World Cup? And he was like, no. I'm like, oh.
Well, no, but you are actively rooting against the U.S. national team.
Yeah, I don't want them.
You hate America.
I don't like this. I don't.
No,
want
you
them in
hate
the World
America.
Cup. We shouldn't want to be good at soccer.
No, you hate America. Like, it doesn't matter if it's been, I don't know if you're like this, but if it's like underwater basket weaving, if it's flip cup, it doesn't matter what it is. If you put like the nations behind it and the U.S. is playing somebody in something, I am emotionally invested in it.
Man, U.S. the U.S. men's national team, I apologize. BJ is going to definitely let me know here. I'll come and BJ will go, we got to qualify round against Mexico tonight. I'm like, just calm down.
No, but have you ever stayed up till like 3 o'clock in the morning to watch like curling in the Olympics because the U.S. team was in the gold medal match?
No,
I've never stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning, but I have been up at 3 o'clock in the morning, turned on the TV and watched curling and said to myself, what are they doing? Is this a quicker picker upper? No, I'm
yes.
I'm just, but BJ, could it work in reverse? Could Kevin not want America to do so bad they end up doing really, really well and they go deep into the World Cup?
No, I have no effect on it. Again, there's no curses, there's nothing else. I'm just asking, if they lose, does that mean we don't have to worry about the World Cup?
And you'll have a full recap
America.
for folks on Monday. Thank you very much.
What time are they playing?
9 o'clock.
Yeah, probably won't catch that. Well, we got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll take 3 right around the corner. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We're streaming live ESPNCoastal.com, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Great to be here with you on this Friday, hour 2. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. We'll hear from Dave Holcomb, southernpigskin.com here this hour. Also, the high school football playoffs start tonight. First round action tonight and tomorrow. Got a lot of teams that are playing on Saturday. Single A and 6A all playing their first round games on Saturday this week. So we'll get to some of that coming up here this hour as well. But first, let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. All right, fellas, take 1. Cam Newton is back with the Carolina Panthers. Is Cam Newton a Hall of Famer? Hall of Fame edition here of Take, by the way.
To me, I think he already is. And, we'll see how much longer he plays. Is it all with Carolina? What does the future hold? But you look at Cam Newton, already has the MVP. And, Ben, we've talked about the value of that, and we've done this in the past with other guys. You have an MVP. You've been to a Super Bowl. You've been a consistent winner in the playoffs. And the passing numbers, I was just looking at it in like the top. It has a chance to get to the top maybe 30 or so in passing yards all time. I think is, in the 60s somewhere right now. And obviously 500, 1,000 yards goes a long way on those lists, but has been for stretches of his career among the 2 or 3, 4 best quarterbacks in the league. And I think just he's been part of the innovation we've seen in the National Football League, his impact. Cam Newton has more rushing touchdowns than Eddie George, for example, just for frame of reference. So he has incredible production as a passer. He has incredible production as a rusher. He has been a playmaker, the likes of which we just have not seen many people like him, with his size and versatility and accuracy and ability to be a dual threat quarterback. And then you think about being a winner, getting to the Super Bowl. Yes, I think Cam Newton is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Can you talk about the quarterback position without talking about Cam Newton? The answer is no. You talk about what he means to the quarterback position and dual threat quarterbacks and everything he went through from coming out of a system that people didn't think he would jail with this system. BJ, you talk about him having more rushing touchdowns. Than Eddie George. He has four fewer than Earl Campbell. I mean, what are we talking about? Like, Cam Newton had almost 5,800 yards rushing and 70 touchdowns before we even get to the passing yards. Cam Newton is a Hall of Famer. I don't know what we be looking. Does he have Drew Brees numbers? No. Does he have Peyton Manning's passing numbers? No. When walks in the room, you going, I want one of those. Well, I'm sorry, those are sold separately right there, son. They don't make them like that. 6'5", 250 coming downhill, and he's back with the Panthers. So before it's all said and done, BJ, he might have more rushing touchdowns. Guess who he has 15 less than Marshawn Lynch. Just think about that. Beast mode has 85. He only play running back. Cam gets to run the football, and he has 15 less. So yes, Cam Newton is a Hall of Famer. Deal with it.
Yeah, I think he is. I think that, as Ben said, the evaluation process is going to be not just him against quarterbacks, but there really hasn't been a whole lot of guys that do what he has done. Maybe when it comes down to it, a Lamar Jackson down the road, maybe a Michael Vick, but I think obviously in terms of stats, he's gone past what Michael Vick was able to do in terms of running the football. So, I mean, I think he's kind of in his own evaluation. Again, as Ben said, if you just look at him and say, was he better than Drew Brees? Was he better than Peyton Manning? Was he better than Tom Brady? As a straight-up quarterback, maybe not. But he's kind of in his own mold, I think, as a quarterback.
Well,
if you're going to
Kev, let me add this real quick just to clarify, because I was looking at the numbers wrong. Cam is already in the top 50, right at 46 in career passing yards. And Brunell, Kurt Warner, Troy Aikman potentially. So he's already in the top 50. Just wanted to clarify that.
All right, moving on to another interesting case. Matt Ryan, take 2. Is Matt Ryan a Hall of Famer?
And I've gone back and forth on this over the years. I mean, you would assume there's a couple of more years out there. I mean, Atlanta didn't draft a quarterback last year, but I think when you look at his numbers, I believe he is in the top 10 all-time in passing yards and passing touchdowns. To go back to the point, Ben, about do you have the MVP, the All-Pro? Matt Ryan does, has been to a Super Bowl. I mean, lost in the Super Bowl in overtime to Brady. I don't think there's any I'd love to have the ring, but you've been a consistent winner at a franchise that has not necessarily had that success historically. With each game, the numbers just become more and more impressive. The consistency, I think he is. I don't think it's a first ballot thing, but I think Matt Ryan is in the Hall of Fame.
Matt Ryan is the best player in franchise history for the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons don't got a rich tradition. We ain't talking about rich traditions over here, but look at who we came behind. Michael Vick was the Atlanta Falcons. Let's just call it what it is. Matty Ice comes there, and this is something. Matty Ice has been there, 13 years? That's 13 drafts. They come and go, Matty Ice is still the guy. I talk about how Hall of Famers make other players better. You know who Michael Vick had? He had Roddy White. He had Roddy White, and when Roddy White was with Mike Vick, he wasn't the Roddy White he was when he got Matty Ice. So yes, Matt. What else does he do? He lost the Super Bowl not because of him, because because of the play calling. It wasn't because Matty Ice scored enough points. Defense just went into prevent in the second half. And if you go back and replay that, James White was not in the end zone. He actually was down before. That's another. Yes, Matty Ice is a Hall of Famer. He has an MVP next to his name. Has a Super Bowl appearance. They did not lose because of Matty Ice. They was in the game because of him. But yes, Matty Ice is a Hall of Famer. Yes.
To break up the Matt Ryan love fest just a little bit, would the argument, if you were going to say no, be how many times over the course of his career to this point was Matt Ryan amongst the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league?
Was Phillip Rivers ever?
No, and I think
was
Phillip
Donovan
Rivers,
McNabb?
No, and I think if you're having that conversation about those guys, I think that's a fair criticism of them. If you're talking about that, I mean, again, everybody who is a good quarterback can't just be put in the Hall of Fame because they were good and played a long time.
All right, well, let's just calm down. Whoa. No. He's in the top 10 all time in yards and touchdowns. He's not just everybody who's played the position.
Hold on. Now, I look at who was in the league with you, both in your division and in the league. You're dealing with Peyton Manning, dealing with Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger. You're dealing with Tom Brady. But in your division, in his division, I ain't talking about Jameis Winston back then. I ain't talking about excluding Tampa Bay. Drew Brees, Cam Newton, and Matty Ice in the same division. You know what Matty Ice and Cam Newton did that Drew Brees never did? Regular season MVP. That's got to mean something. I'm just saying.
I'm just trying to play the other card
but I
here.
would say he was the best quarterback in the National Football League for a year.
Okay, I'm saying I remember having that same conversation with fans and people who would call the show and say, "Is Matt Ryan elite? Is he a top 9 to 10 quarterback?" And this has been a number. I'm not saying the year they went to Super Bowl. I'm just saying that has always been seemingly a talking point around Matt Ryan.
I just don't think that's fair. Like, you have to be the best to be a Hall of Famer. I think more than one Hall of Famer at a position can play at the same time.
I agree. I think my whole point about that is, were you among the best for a more than 1 year span?
Absolutely.
Again, I'm just putting out the way I look at it.
Stirred up the Matt Hive.
When you look, were you among the best? And usually I would say among the top 1 or 2 premier players at your position for more than one season, for multiple seasons, unquestionably. I think that's where folks will detract from Matt Ryan that don't think he necessarily played at that level. I think they might be a little misguided on that, but I think that would be the argument against Matt Ryan, that, yet again, not your fault. You play with a lot of elite quarterbacks, but largely if you look at the era he played in, you say, name the best quarterbacks. Matt Ryan might roll off the tongue 6th or 7th, depending on what kind of segment you're talking about. I don't think he would be the top 1 or 2. And
but to Christian's point, much like you can have 3 of the top 5 teams in the country be from the SEC, you can have 3 of the top 5 quarterbacks of the last 30 years potentially play in the same 4, 5, 6, 7 year span. There can be, I agree with Christian's point, there can be more than just 1 or 2 quarterbacks at a Hall of Fame level playing at a Hall of Fame level at a certain time.
And it goes back to something else Christian said. If somebody said, listen, okay, Matty Ice, at your peak, how good are you? I can win MVP. Did you win it? Yes. And that's saying something when the gold standard of quarterback in the regular season was Peyton Manning. The gold standard of quarterback in the postseason was Tom Brady. This man won a regular season MVP. While though Charles Barkley won an MVP and Jordan was in the league. Like, is Charles Barkley better than Jordan? No, but he still won MVP. So I just think that at his best, his play and his performance, proved
Dude's
that. So
still out there throwing for 300 yards in games with this Atlanta Falcons roster. Julio Jones is in Tennessee, and Calvin Ridley just quit, and he's still throwing for 300 yards.
He's nice.
Again, I'm just trying to play the other side on
Don't.
Matt Ryan here as well. Take 3 If Matt Stafford wins a Super Bowl with the Rams, is he a Hall of Fame candidate? Is he a Hall of Famer?
I don't think he is right now. I want to address the question, though, because I think, Kevin, I see you shaking your head. I think there's a very good argument because normally, when you evaluate a quarterback's career, you have a couple of kind of checklists you go through besides just shaking your head. No, okay? You look at, did you have the postseason success? Well, he does not yet. He absolutely does not yet. However, I will say this. There have not been many players who have gotten the Detroit Lions into the playoffs. Matt Stafford did. You're talking about, well, okay, but still, how many times?
One time.
Yeah, but how many times in history have they been? I mean, that's part of the argument with Matt Ryan. You used to say this on your show back in the day all the time, that the Falcons had never had back-to-back winning seasons. Well, when Matt Ryan did it, yeah, it was one time, but that was a big deal for that organization. So I think Matt Stafford, if he gets the Super Bowl, you already have the stats, and that's why I go back to going down the checklist. Right now, he's 13th all-time in passing yards and 12th in pass touchdowns. And I think, barring something unforeseen, not only will he move into the top 10 in those categories, he will probably move into the top 7 or 8 in those categories. If you add on top of being a top 7 or 8 passer in all the major stat categories, if you add on a Super Bowl, and if you go look right now, I just checked, a number of outlets have Matt Stafford listed as the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. Right now, of players that have played, I think like whatever the minimum is, 60% of their games, he has the highest passer rating in the league. If you just count all quarterbacks, I think Russell Wilson is right above him, but Russell Wilson's only played in 5 games. So Matt Stafford right now has the top passer rating in the league. His team is the favorite to win the Super Bowl. If he wins the MVP and wins the Super Bowl, I don't know what the argument against is because, to Christian's point, he may have never been the number 2 or 3 quarterback in our minds during his career, but he would be a top 10 passer with an MVP and a Super Bowl, and he would have elevated, because a number of times the Lions missed the playoffs, they were right there on the outside looking in, he would have elevated the status quo of a historically downtrodden franchise, and he's the fastest quarterback ever to 10,000, 20,000, and 30,000 passing yards. I think he would check off the boxes if he finishes the year with those accolades.
He got a shot. But and I want y'all to rock with me for a second. You know who Matthew Stafford is? He's Corey Dillon. Corey Dillon was really, really good for Cincinnati, and they were bad. He was really, really good. He goes to New England, and he wins the Super Bowl. I think he's top 20, I think, in rushing, well over 10,000 yards, 80-something touchdowns. But BJ, could he just be a missing piece? Because, Keyshawn went to Tampa. He got 100 catches and a touchdown. He told Warren Sapp, but it was about the team that was already assembled. If we look back on this, if he does win the Super Bowl, are we going to say it was because of Matthew Stafford? He going to say, who do they have? Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, OBJ, Robert Woods, Sony Michel, Sean McVay, and a partridge in a pear tree. I mean, I like Matthew Stafford, right? He can sling that thing, no doubt about it. But I just think that if he win the Super Bowl, he's already a Hall of Fame. I don't know, numbers tell half the story, but if he got a regular season MVP and a Super Bowl MVP, it's going to be hard to keep him out.
I don't know. My gut just says no. I think he's a little bit, what does Christian call them, compilers, where I think he's been around the league, never played on a great team. I get it in Detroit, but part of the reason you're there, part of the reason you were there is to help elevate that team. And you had Calvin Johnson. You had some of those guys offensively.
He just left, and Detroit is winless. Detroit doesn't have.
They were winless when he was there. Okay. So he took part in none of that season?
He was Dan Orlovsky.
It's interesting. I think, again, to me, Matt Stafford, again, puts up great numbers, but to me has never, in the era in which he played, has never really been in the conversation of this is like one of the top 2 or 3 best quarterbacks the league has.
But I think that's the point is what we're talking about is, no, what we're talking about is him winning the Super Bowl, and right now he's the favorite to win the MVP. So I agree with you right now.
That same franchise went there with Jared Goff.
Right. He is not the favorite, or excuse me, he is not going to make the Hall of Fame right now. But if you see that favorite distinction turn into an MVP, and to the question, if you win a Super Bowl, you then have an MVP, you have a Super Bowl, you were in the top 10 in passing yards all time, and you're in the top 10 in passing touchdowns all time. I agree with you, Kevin, that my gut would feel like probably not. But outside of just a visceral feeling I have, what would he be missing?
I mean, I guess he would have it for 1 year. Again, I can't think of another quarterback. I mean, that went in that really never played on Archie Manning, maybe that never really played on a winning team up until again for Stafford would be one season. So to me, it'd be very. I mean, at least the case for Phillip Rivers is, yeah, they were never the best team, but that dude won a lot, and they were in the mix. Detroit. Not really in the mix a lot of times with Matt Stafford.
I mean, he got some, listen, he gonna win the eye test, he's gonna win it. The stats battle, he's gonna win it. But the thing about it is, BJ, Blake Bortles' best year in the NFL, he compiling a bunch of stats. The games be over already. You got to throw. I am not saying Stafford, and Blake Bortles, but Blake Bortles also went to an AFC Championship game. If Blake Bortles would have won a Super Bowl MVP, he's doing something never. Is he better than Mark?
Dude, is Blake Bortles in the top 15 all time in passing yards?
In Central Florida, probably. He is. We got it. That's Take 3. We do it every day this time. We'll come back. Dave Holcomb, SouthernPigskin.com, will join us for talking college football with him at next here on 3 and Out. Good to have you along here, 3 and Out on this Friday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. A busy week in college football. A lot of big games in the ACC this weekend. And joining us here to talk about that, including a big one last night, Dave Holcomb, SouthernPigskin.com, joins us. Dave, welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Hey, we're doing fantastic. Pitt and North Carolina last night go to overtime. A fantastic football game there. North Carolina obviously upset Wake Forest in a non-conference ACC tilt last week. However, that works out. But Pitt continuing to win. How does that help things kind of in that ACC race?
Yeah, I mean, this was a huge win for Pitt. I would even say a must win because they've got Virginia coming up next week. Virginia has a non-conference game, a traditional non-conference game, playing Notre Dame this weekend. So Pitt needed to stay a game in front of Virginia. In the conference, they're 5-1. Virginia 4-2. And that sets up that no matter what Virginia does, that sets up Pitt, Virginia being kind of like the winner take the Coastal Division next weekend.
And Dave, over in the ACC Atlantic, you have Wake Forest and NC State, a top 20 game. And Wake Forest has been interesting. They've been really good, but a lot of their games have been, 45-40 or 70-54, like it was against Army. Can they keep doing that? Can they win a high-scoring game against NC State this weekend?
I think they can, but I also think it could go the way last weekend's game went, where the offense scores a lot of points, but I think, NC State's offense, not as good as Wake Forest, but they're more of a, slow it down type of team, and they like to stop the run, more old school style of football. But if it's a Wake Forest type game, I think Devin Leary is going to surprise some people. He's got 25 touchdown passes this year. I think he might be able to, I think he'll definitely keep NC State in a barn burner type game, and who knows? I mean, I think they could pull it out like North Carolina did last week. I wouldn't count them out.
Dave, the fact that Clemson is just not themselves this year, and you talk about Wake Forest, you talk about Pitt, you talk about NC State, why are we not giving the same respect we give it to those teams that we give to Clemson in every other year?
That's a good question. I guess the answer is they're not undefeated. We could that question would have been a lot harder to answer had Wake Forest won last week. And I would have been more pounding the table saying, hey, let's give a Wake Forest team, let's not discount them just because of the brand. But unfortunately, I guess we discount them because of the brand, and we, as fans or analysts, we say, well, they'll eventually lose, they'll eventually stumble. And unfortunately, teams like Pitt and Wake Forest this year kind of proved that to be true. Pitt stumbled twice, but even after the first stumble, they lost at home against Miami, and then the Wake Forest pretty much had to run the table to have any shot of the playoff, and they stumble almost the first opportunity after the playoff rankings come out.
And I've said this, and I guess there's no way to know now that they've lost. But Dave, I've been on record saying, look, there's certain teams that can get in the playoffs and certain ones that can't. I think if Wake Forest goes 13-0, there's a 0% chance they get in the playoff.
Unfortunately, it's really looking like that's true. And I'm a Syracuse alum, and I loved Big East basketball, and I had a hard time understanding when Syracuse moved into the ACC. Why are we? I know ACC basketball is great too, but why are we giving up our basketball rivals to move into a different conference? And the answer at the time, I thought, was, okay, football is going to this playoff system. You want to be in a Power 5. You have to have any chance of winning a national championship. But we're finding now, almost a decade into the playoff era, that teams like Syracuse, Wake Forest, Pitt, they're not taken seriously, and other non-Power 5 teams like Cincinnati not being taken seriously really in the playoff rankings.
Dave, not that long ago, Florida State Miami was the best matchup, one of the best matchups every season in college football. I know Miami's had a bit of a resurgence lately. Florida State still rebuilding. I mean, any idea what to expect this weekend?
It's hard to tell with these two programs, but I think Tyler Van Dyke is, I think Miami's found something in him, and I think he's going to continue to be kind of their spark plug, I guess you could say. 3-0 since he took over, and I going to continue to do well against Florida State, and I look for Miami to win this one.
Sam Howell was supposed to be he was supposed to be the face of the ACC this year, and obviously got outplayed last night by Kenny Pickett. Why isn't nobody really giving Kenny Pickett his just dues with him being the all-time leading passer in Pittsburgh history?
I don't know. I mean, I really like Pickett. I think he might end up. I'm no quarterback scout, so I honestly, I probably really don't know. But I think he looks like his game could translate to the next level. And he's great in college. College quarterbacks that don't translate to the NFL but are still revered for what they do in college. And Kenny Pickett should absolutely be mentioned among the top quarterbacks in the country this season. He's having a tremendous year, and I think he's flying way under the radar for what he's accomplishing with Pitt. And I can't really answer why he's not getting more mention. I guess it's the record. I guess it's the idea that the ACC is down this year, so maybe Pickett's not facing the best competition, but I think that's not fair at all to what he's accomplished.
Dave Holcomb, SouthernPigskin.com, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Dave, you mentioned Virginia, Notre Dame, a non-conference game this week for Virginia, but they're a team that's really found their offense here in 2021. Any chance they go to South Bend and pull off a shocker against number 9 Notre Dame?
I think there's a chance, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't count them out against or with that quarterback. Brendan Armstrong has just been unbelievable. You talk about Pickett and just the quarterback play overall in this conference has really impressed me in the ACC this year. And Armstrong, a lot of pass attempts, so he has a lot more opportunities than some of the other quarterbacks in the conference. But, I mean, his average yards per game, yards per attempt even speak for themselves. And he's terrific, and I think he'll have to have a huge game on the road for Virginia to win. But he's definitely capable of that.
Dave, finally, I know you have a new book out that folks can find more about on your Twitter page. But tell us about that and where people can check it out.
Yeah, I mentioned it last time I was on the show, The Road to Reciprocity, my first novel. It's about a U.S. dispatch rider in World War II that finds out his 2 brothers may be wounded behind enemy lines. In honor of Veterans Day, it's 99 cents. The Kindle version is on Amazon. So if it sounds interesting to you, it's $1 this weekend. Go check it out on Amazon, The Road of Reciprocity.
There you go. Dave Holcomb, our guest here on 3 and Out. Dave, appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Thanks much.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Dave Holcomb, our guest here on 3 and Out. The ACC, again, Pitt beating North Carolina last night. And again, we make a joke of it on the show, BJ, but it really is kind of, I guess, a self-fulfilling prophecy of the ACC kind of ACCing itself. And that is, you don't talk about that with the Big Ten or the SEC when teams lose. But when the ACC, a league that's trying to get traction outside of maybe 2 or 3 teams that you really talk about or get pushed as a brand, you say, okay, for the league to get that depth, that kind of recognition of depth, this team's got to keep winning. And sure enough, when that opportunity comes, they slip up and lose. And we kind of laugh about that and make a joke of it. But that's seemingly been the case. Wake Forest last week. Pitt, I think, staved that off a little bit last night. And I think NC State, to a degree, has had that befall them this year as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just the perception or the expectations, right? Like Wake Forest, a lot of people, relatively speaking, were talking about them when they were undefeated. They lose to North Carolina, and it's like everybody turns the page and forgets. They have one of the best offenses in the country. I mean, ACC football, Dave mentioned Virginia, and we'll see if Brendan Armstrong is healthy. Virginia leads the nation in total offense. They're number 1 in the nation. And you look at some of the other, Sam Hartman should be a Heisman Trophy candidate. Sam Howell, you mentioned Sam Howell, Ben, is going to be a first-round draft pick. Kenny Pickett might be a first-round draft pick. I mean, you have exciting games. Devin Leary, I think, has 25 touchdowns and 2 picks when you think about NC State. So I think it's just preseason expectations. You kind of rank and file in your mind. All right, this team's good. This team's okay. This team's not. and you kind of use that as a starting point for interpretation. Wake Forest is good. And I'm excited for this Wake Forest NC State game. NC State's been impressive as well. There's a lot of NFL guys at the skill positions in this game, 2 really good quarterbacks. And the winner here it'll probably be Pitt and the winner of this game on Saturday for the ACC championship.
Kevin, BJ, we got to start doing all this implicit bias. We go into this season saying we already know it's supposed to be Clemson, everybody else. It's supposed to be DJU, Sam Howell, and De'Aaron King and everybody else. And here comes Kenny Pickett, and different guys. So I just think that the ACC is ACC in itself, Kevin, but it's forcing us to look at the entire ACC, not the usual suspects we've grown accustomed to, not the North Carolinas, not the Virginia Techs, not the Miamis. Like, hey, man, who the best teams? Pitt.
No, but think about these quarterbacks. Think about these quarterbacks, though. I mean, Malik Cunningham's having another fantastic year. Phil Jerkovic is healthy for Boston College. I mean, you have some really good players, especially at the quarterback position in the ACC.
And again, the kind of highlight this week: NC State at Wake Forest, number 16 at number 12. I talked to Dave Doran, BJ. Here's what he had to say about the game. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out. High school football playoffs starting tonight. Get out playoff. I can't do that right now. But playoffs. There we go.
Speaking of Jim Moore Jr. just got hired as the head coach at UConn. So, the Moores are back in the news. I mean, yes, UConn does have a football team and they have a head coach.
Why did I think they were thinking about quitting football?
Well,
obviously not. Jim Moore Jr. has got hired. Man.
No, I'm just saying he's at UConn. So, get him a nice coat. And he get to walk around and say, "Hey, man, what are you doing, coach? I'm just looking at all the national championships of basketball. Get out of here. Get out of here. Don't bring that negativity in here. Out of here."
But yes, playoffs start tonight and tomorrow. So if you're a fan of a team in single A or 6A, they play on Saturday. Everybody else playing tonight, but obviously some big games out there this weekend. Benedictine will have that online ESPNcoastal.com streaming and audio version, and on our Savannah station as well. We'll have Benedictine and Thomas County Central tonight.
We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the
gave it away.
In my opinion, that sucked. What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Well, now coaches are hoping they can win 5 games and get a state championship. But you got Brunswick undefeated. They play on Saturday, BJ. So it starts now, and you hope you got 5 more weeks of football.
I'm excited. I know you and Christian will have the Benedictine call, Thomas County Central tonight. Listening to you guys, PJ. This is a great time of year and a lot of storylines. I mean, Benedictine, one of those storylines. I think you look at Pierce County. Pierce County defending state champ. They have Windsor Forest. And keep in mind, some of these games are tonight. Some of these games are tomorrow. But yeah, Brunswick and Tucker, Glen Academy on the road at Langston Hughes. I mean, you're talking about Ware and Banneker. I mean, games that are just really, really interesting. And I think, Savannah Christian at Tatnall Square Academy tomorrow. A lot of games that stand out. And it's the 3rd season. Like we've talked about, you have the non-region schedule where you can sort of, assess what you have. You have the region schedule where you determine what's going to happen in the postseason if you get there. And now it doesn't matter if you're a 1, 2, 3, 4 on the road, at home, tough matchup. If you think it's an easy matchup, good luck with that. I mean, everybody's good this time of year, but I think this is what it's all about. This is why you play. And so many teams from Southeast Georgia in the playoffs. Congrats to the student athletes and the coaches, and just looking forward to tonight.
Friday Night Lights, it is the best time of the year. I know, listen, all I can do is talk about what could have been. I know nothing about this part of the year. When you talk about high school football, Kevin, Christian and BJ, but Kevin, I mean, we were talking about is there an upset brewing? Because I know we was going through it. I mean, you were saying, look, it's funny. You get to, when those West Georgia teams and them Atlanta teams get to meet these, South Georgia teams, it could get ugly. But is there an upset, and do you see an upset brewing when one of them 9-1-2 representatives?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, football is you have 10 weeks to kind of look and see how it played out. If I could predict all the upsets, then I wouldn't need to do this show. I would be doing something else. But high school football, you just never know. If you come out flat, there could be a team that steps up and beats you. But no, I think largely.
Did you just imply that you would be gambling on high school football?
I know I would never do that.
I think you just implied that you would be gambling.
I would never encourage
that. You degenerate.
For a listen of all the games you can see, go to ESPNcoastal.com. Actually, Christian does have the full list there. ESPNcoastal.com. All the Coastal Georgia teams there. If you want to know who's playing when, full list right there. ESPNcoastal.com. Go check that out. Go ahead, DJ.
I was trying to move on from that, but yeah, ESPNcoastal.com. All the games in Southeast Georgia. But I wanted to ask. I mean, Ben, we're sitting here with the experts. I mean, Benedictine tonight, Thomas County Central, 2 power programs, 2 traditional powers. I know 2 really good quarterbacks. I mean, what's going to be the key tonight for the cadets to move on? And I think, for a team that many expect to be playing for quite some time here in the postseason.
Well, I think a lot of it's just fast start. When they get off to a fast start, it really puts the pressure on the other team, and they've got complementary football. They have a defense that can shut people down, and they've got an offense that can score in bunches and score in a hurry, and they've got a number of guys that can do it in a number of different ways offensively. I think Thomas County Central, they're going to come in and try to run the football. We've seen teams try to do that. I've watched BC play over the years, especially under Danny Britt. About the only ones that I've seen successfully do it are the ones that are going to try to play in a phone booth between the tackles and just, obliterate the line of scrimmage all night long. Trying to get to the edge against BC's been proven to be very tough, and they got great skill players locking it up at corner. So to think you're going to pass them crazy, I don't think that's in the cards. Thomas County Central going to come in and try to run the football. And again, if BC scores in bunches and makes you go away from that game plan, could be a long night there for those Yellow Jackets from Thomas County Central.
And Kevin, 1A and 6A both got to play on Saturday. I mean, I understand. And for those of you, yes, I'm going to call them out. For those of you think, why do 1A and 6A got to play? They out of refs? No, they didn't run out of refs. So everybody had wanted to talk trash about the Wonder Lick when it came to the NFL draft. I think it was in the 75 percentile or what had to show 75 or something on this set. Didn't score as high as they thought they would.
You want the best in the playoffs.
So, and I get that part, but Kevin, how much does it potentially hurt the rhythm? Nobody's at a competitive advantage because everybody got 1A and 6. They got to play on Saturday, but rhythm is huge when it comes to football. These guys got to play on Saturday. Do you see that kind of hurting the game a little bit?
Yeah, I think if you're used to Friday night football and you got to wait till Saturday, because I think there's some the games are at non-traditional times on Saturday. I've heard some people playing Saturday afternoon, some people playing at 6 o'clock, some people are playing at 7:30. So you kind of don't have the traditional start time. I think I agree with what John Nelson said earlier. It's not so much this week. It's moving along to next week, depending on when you play on Saturday, and your opponent may have, well, I guess they're all playing on Saturday, but you have one less day to prepare for the next game. Because as you know, Ben, you have a recovery day and then you kind of get ready, but then you're playing on Friday. So I think it kind of changes your schedule for next week. The extra day to prepare, I think they might like for this week. And as Christian said, maybe some of the parents or our fans want to go see, like, why are they playing at the same time as this game or that game? But just for the first round, from what I understand, 1A, public and private, and 6A, just for the first round Saturday, and they'll all go back to Friday in round number 2. But if you have an opportunity, get out and support your local high school football team. A lot of work to get to this point, and everybody hopes they got 5 more weeks of football starting tonight. We've got more to come here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Sorry, Ryan McGee. Hate to do it to you. Which would you rather listen to in loop? And depending on who you are, would you rather listen to that, which may be the worst song ever written, or would you rather listen to Rocky Top? You're going to hear Rocky Top about as much as people have heard that song. Would you rather listen to that for 24 hours on a loop? You can't turn it off. Would you rather listen to that or Rocky Top?
Well, I'm in the other room, so I don't know what that is.
It's a Baby Shark song.
Oh, you don't like Baby Shark? You don't like Baby Shark?
No, I hate it. It's the worst song that's ever been written. Oh, it's true.
I mean,
name a song that's worse than that. Maybe okay. Maybe that's pretty bad.
Well, hold on a second. Now, hold on. This is important because if we want to hear some music that you want to hear on loop like 24 hours, I mean, it is a Friday night. I know Kevin in the past has had kind of a playoff anthem. I mean, theoretically, we could play kind of the playoff loop if we want to hear something on loop to get us fired up for a Friday night in the postseason.
I would rather listen to that for 24 hours straight, Rocky Top, than Baby Shark.
No, if I had to listen to something on a loop and I'm trying to make sure I'm staying motivated, I'm gonna hear the Kevin Thomas on jumping jacks. I mean, I'm gonna listen to that because just when I'm getting ready to kind of go down, like jumping jacks, touch your toes.
Here we go.
Like I'm saying, BJ, a lot of people don't know Kevin got a lot of albums. He got a workout album, he got a motivational album. I mean, Kevin, we were just listening to Kevin Thomas on loop. Jumping jacks, touch your toes.
Little did I know it was going to go down this road.
There we go.
This is the worst. That is the worst song ever put together. I will say that.
I mean, Kevin, when are you gonna put out your album? You got plenty of tracks. I mean, when are you gonna drop the album? Let's go.
I regret the day I ever did this.
No, the fact that
I'm never mic checking at a stadium ever again.
The fact that Christian won't tell Kevin really how many songs he has with Kevin. They be like, man, I got a bunch of songs. He's remixing that thing.
Touch your toes. I mean, that is a good point, Ben. I think it might be time for a remix because you have the classic. Classic. It's time for the remix.
Yeah, BJ. I mean, you are the one who dropped bars, right? You the one that yeah, BJ. Yeah, Kevin Thomas featuring BJ Bennett.
I like it. Yeah, we can work on that.
I mean, you want to give us a sample right now? I mean, you be freestyling.
Nope, not emotionally ready for that right now. No, not after that. How do I follow up that?
It's about freestyle. Like just. I mean, you solicit.
I'll go right after
your children every chance you get.
I'll go right after Kevin.
I don't need to go. One of us already has apparently an album out.
Oh, okay. Kevin said album will be the Christmas album will be dropping on Thanksgiving. How about that?
Oh my goodness! Nobody ever answered the actual question I posed though.
I could go with Baby Shark.
No, you cannot listen to that for 24. You will be insane within 1 hour of listening to Baby. No, you'll be next level insane if you listen to Baby Shark on loop you will never make it to hour 24. You will be, I mean, you will gouge your own eardrums out after about 10 minutes of Baby Shark.
Hey, do your jumping jacks.
What?
That I would rather listen to that than Baby Shark, and I don't want to listen to that. My remix album. You can't. Hey, Baby Shark, worst song ever made, ever. You cannot question it. There isn't one that's worse. That is awful. That should be thrown away, never to be played again, and a bad example of music. We will come back. Picture to go wrong next here on 3 and Out.